Tabgha is situated on the banks of the Sea of Galilee. It is an Arabic adaptation of the Greek name Heptapigon, meaning seven springs. Our tour guide Sam explains to us the churches of Tabgha.
That has different phases of history. If you look here on this map, on this diagram, you find different numbers of different phases of history where the early church was established. And you can see here in the 1st century, then another one, number 2, 4th century, and number 5th century, etc. Until we find this modern church that was built by the Benedictines in the 1980s to resemble the Byzantine church. What is very unique about it is that they found a mosaic with a fish and loaf, and that led them to believe that this early church commemorated the miracle of the multiplication that Jesus performed, feeding the 5,000.
According to the book of Matthew in the New Testament, Jesus was given 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. After blessing the food, he multiplied the loaves and fishes so that there was enough to feed 5,000 hungry people, with enough to fill 12 baskets with leftovers. The famous Byzantine-era mosaic at the Tabgha depicts 2 fish and a basket containing loaves of bread. This important story in the history of Christianity makes Tabgha a special place to visit. The present church preserves within some of its wall remains of a church that stood here in the late 300s. When that earlier church was excavated in 1936, archaeologists discovered a mosaic around a block of naked limestone. Ancient accounts identify the block of limestone as the place where Jesus broke and blessed the bread that was multiplied and shared with the crowds. The new modern church preserves the rock below its altar. The modern church replicates the style of the Byzantine church that would have been built after St. Helen's visit to the Holy Land, even using some stones from the original church. The story has captured the imagination of the Christian community because it reveals a deep truth about our lives of faith. God feeds us abundantly. Another group of pilgrims explained here by their tour guide about the miracle of Jesus when he fed 5,000 people from 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread.
5,000 people so easily that 5,000 is more than the wall. People would see where from the wall. Imagine 5,000 people looking exactly at Jesus where he would put the baskets. So they saw exactly where he put the 2 baskets. Later on, they would go to another thousands of people, their families, their kids.
The Church of the Primacy of St. Peter in Tabgha is a Roman Catholic church run by the Franciscans in the northwestern shore of the Sea of Galilee. This church commemorates Jesus' reinstatement of Peter as the chief among the apostles. This modern church was built in 1933, and it incorporated an earlier 4th century church whose foundations are still visible. This church contains a rock where each builder held that Jesus appeared for the 4th time after the resurrection. The story goes that St. John, Peter, and 6 other disciples went fishing but didn't catch anything all night. Then Jesus appeared and told them to change the place of the net which then caught 153 fishes. Once the disciples returned to shore, they found that Jesus had cooked them breakfast on a charcoal fireplace on a rock. This rock traditionally held to be where resurrected Jesus cooked that breakfast, so it is referred to as Mensa Christ, or the table of Christ.
Because of the large number of fish. Then the disciples whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." As soon as Simon Peter heard him, 153, but even his so many net was not torn. Jesus said to them, None of the disciples then asked him, "Who are you?" Jesus came.
This limestone rock in front of the altar, which is venerated as Mensa Christ, Latin for Table of Christ, because tradition dictates that this was the spot where Jesus laid out a breakfast of bread and fish to his apostles and told Peter to feed my sheep after a miraculous catch, and the third time he appeared to them after his resurrection. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, brought up in Nazareth, and preached in Jerusalem, but the significant Galilean ministry years was spent in Capernaum, and where he performed many of his miracles. After this visit, we transferred to the neighboring church and house of St. Peter. Capernaum in the Galilee of northern Israel is a biblical village. It is not far from other important Christian sites in Israel, like the places we visited, the Mount of Beatitudes and Tabgha, as well as the Jordan River and Tiberias on the northwestern shore of the Sea of Galilee. The Pilgrimage Church of St. Peter is located in the central part of the archaeological site of Capernaum. Archaeological excavations revealed a 1st century church was built here and was considered the first church in the world.
Okay? So we're looking at one of those homes in the village of Capernaum.
It was in the Capernaum synagogue that Jesus gave the sermon of the bread. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Many believe the synagogue from this time was black basalt rock, which now lies beneath a more modern construction. The original synagogue was destroyed and later replaced in approximately 200 AD. The remains of the synagogue include one complete wall, the ruins of other walls, and several columns. Archaeologists uncovered an early Christian home in Capernaum, thought to have been the home of St. Peter. Jesus cured Peter's mother-in-law here, and is thought to have lived in this house while he was in Capernaum. This is the site where Christ cured a paralytic who was lowered in through the roof. After Jesus' death, the home became a place of worship. A modern hexagonal Franciscan church stands over the spot thought to have been St. Peter's house. There is a glass floor, so you can still see the ancient original church below.